Well, it's all set up just like we had hoped it would be. Not a runaway total for Chennai, who have already qualified, but something in a range that Punjab can at least hope to get in a hurry to keep their hopes alive. Maybe just about alive, but alive nonetheless. 134 for 6 is all that the champion Chennai side have managed in their 20 overs. Faf du Plessis once again stand out, 76 of 55, but nobody else got going. The second name on a summary scorecard is Ravindra Jadeja with 15 of 17 deliveries. And that kind of tells the story of this Chennai innings, which was pretty much one-man show, Francois du Plessis. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle, to try and tell you that, Punjab are still alive, and there'll be some fireworks at the back end of this game. To discuss that and a lot more, Shaun Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya. This is how we'd hope it goes down to, Joy, towards the fag end of it with a team who are pretty much out, but still in.
Yeah, I love it because, while the chance is still mathematically, it's not exactly a real chance. They can say, okay, let's try and do it in 10 overs. Maybe Kolkata will lose by 50 and we have a chance. They need to tell themselves that they need to keep playing, keep hoping. And I think they did such a brilliant job of bowling today. I thought this is the best bowling effort Punjab has put through because this wasn't a minefield like some of the Sharjah pitches have been, or this hasn't been a really bad pitch. It was a decent pitch. But if you look at that bowling and the consistency there, 22, Arshdeep went for a bit, Chris Jordan 20, Bishnoi 25, and Onrix just 1 over. But consistent bowling, good bowling, and bowling to plans. And as we were discussing earlier, allowing Shami to come in early. He's not the greatest death bowler. He got hit for a few at the death. But at least they gave him only 1 over at the death because with Jordan coming in, they could change things around.
Yeah, disciplined bowling, Shaun. But as a Punjab fan, are you turning around and saying, why couldn't you have done this earlier?
I think as fans, you always you think about things unemotionally for most of the times and saying always looking for better performances. But they've shown what they're capable of. It's given them a little bit of hope. We're talking about 10 overs, but I think the key is going to be that power play. If they can get off to an absolute flyer, then they've just got to keep pulling the trigger and just trying to even do it in less than 10 overs. Just to give themselves some hope. Obviously they want to win the game, but they've done the first part. I thought that was going to be the difficult part. There would be a little bit of concern for CSK. Their last 3 or 4 batting performances haven't been great, haven't been very flush. And the thing about that is you don't just turn form on and off. Du Plessis has been good and Gakwad's been good at the top of the order, but the rest of the order hasn't been in the best of touch, maybe other than Jadeja. I know Radu got a 50 in the last game, but there's too many of the middle order who aren't firing. So I think they'd be rather concerned about the way it's gone, because you don't just turn it on. You don't just go, okay, well, now it's the playoffs. We're all going to play brilliantly. It's something that you build up to, and the momentum gets carried through the tournament. But from Punjab's perspective, they've done well. And the wicket did look like it did a little bit. There was quite a few steep deliveries that took off a decent length. So maybe there's a little bit more in it. And someone like a Josh Hazlewood could be a real handful if he gets that ball to stand up. But I'm sure the Punjab guys are going to come out swinging.
They certainly are. It's going to be an interesting battle because you've got Hazlewood, Shardul Thakur, Deepak Chahar, Moin Ali if required, Jadeja, Bravo. Lots and lots. I've got a decent bowling attack to try and thrash all over the place. But nonetheless, when you're going every delivery, something tells me we're going to have the biggest contrast between the 2 power play scores in the entire tournament, because Chennai had a horror 6 overs, Joy.
Yeah, they had a horror 6 overs. In fact, it's really their last 4 that saved them. They got 48 in their last 4, which is really what made this score look close to respectable. But I think the thing is about it all depends on whether these guys can keep wickets in hand. Punjab can keep wickets in hand, because Punjab's big problem is they haven't had a middle order either. You're talking about 2 teams who haven't had a middle order, because the only people slightly in form for Chennai right now are Raidu, the 2 opening batsmen, Raidu and Jadeja. That's it. And even Raidu has not been looking great. Moin Ali, who was so good in the first part of the IPL, in the first part of the tournament in India, has just looked totally off form. And that number 3 not giving them runs has changed the composition of it. Then Raina has come in. Raina hasn't given them anything. So they'd be interested. But look at the same problem from the other side. Again, Mayank Agarwal, and they're going to go out there. Rahul are going to go out there and hammer it. Markram has given them something, but to expect Enriques and Shah Rukh Khan to consistently give them runs at this stage immediately or not, they know that these top three will have to give them most of it. So my thing is that if they lose 2 quick wickets, what do? Do they slow down and say, let's try and get a win? At least let's get a win for our spectators? Or should we say, let's be 78 all out, but let's try and do it in 10 overs? That's the dilemma. I'd be interested in seeing which side of the dilemma Punjab lands on.
Shaun, you reckon it's the latter? I mean, you even fans would want them to go out doing what they need to do for the tournament and the match.
I think the initial power play, as I touched on earlier, I think that's the key. Guys, we're going out there, we're going to give it our all, maybe even throw someone like a Jordan in if you lose early wickets. And then after 6 overs, we assess. If there's no chance of us knocking off in 10 overs, let's go for the win. If we're on course, then let's keep pushing. I think they need to be a little bit flexible. You want to end with a win. I think that's vitally important. And even to qualify is, as we say, is mathematical and very unlikely. So I think it is still important for them to get a win, but they've got to give it a go. They have to risk. And I think the first 6 overs will be the key.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine. I mean, we talked about poor run, but imagine having someone like him, even just, obviously, we needed Jordan to come in and stabilize the ship, Joy. But imagine in a situation like this to had Nicholas Pooran and Chris Gale just for this one match. That's what you kind of need. Someone who can go berserk and hit every ball for 6.
Yeah, I think that's why I think they've moved away from they want to win this game, but they're not necessarily, because otherwise, given that they've been given Pooran about 13 attempts, they would have given him a 14th. I mean, or there's 12 attempts. I think they've given him so many chances, they might as well have given him another one. But if they moved away, they're turning around and saying, we don't trust these guys anymore. They're the guys who want to do it. And I mean, Gale, obviously, the decision he took, he didn't want to sit on the bench. He thought that, it's time for him to move. But I think that they'll be happier doing this with these guys if these guys can do it. They'll just feel better about themselves as a team. I feel, and again, it's very early for Punjab, and Punjab, it's always a season of hope. But I feel something has happened in these last 2-3 matches. They've got something together again, and they've got something to build on next year if they sort of put it right. And a win will be important for this unit.
But from this match perspective, I think that's the one little factor, Shaun, and we saw the little drama with when he went out to bat in the previous game would be Sarfraz. He was padded up. Shah Rukh Khan was padded up. Rahul was standing there. So was Wasim Jafar. Who goes first? They had a disagreement. Sarfraz Khan looked genuinely rusty.
Yeah, well, the commentators were telling us, I mean, you don't get to know these facts and figures until someone walks the crease. First competitive game in 6 months. So it was a big ask to walk him. I mean, you obviously see signs of a person striking it really well in the nets. But, I mean, as he got to the crease, you saw that first delivery was almost falling over, drifts in, spins away. Thanks for coming, off stump. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they went, if Shah Rukh Khan didn't go before him this time. It would be a massive surprise to me. But as I say, I think they might have some guys floating around just looking to give it an absolute whack. And then if it doesn't work out, then try and consolidate and eventually end up with a win.
Yeah, as you said, Joy, 3 foreigners, 3 overseas players. They could have easily said, fine, we're getting Chris Jordan in, we're resting Pooran or keeping Pooran at the expense of maybe Sarfraz Khan, sorry. So no Sarfraz, get in that 4th aeroplane with Nicholas Pooran. It kind of looks a more, exciting outfit just for this one-off game.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Given that we've given Pooran so many chances and given that at least has had time in the middle, however wretchedly he spent that time in the middle, I would have gambled with Pooran instead of Sarfraz for a match like this. International quality, when he hits the ball, can get into position very fast and then float him. And I think if they're going to float, they probably will not float Chris Jordan. I think they'll float Sarfraz. Now, whether Sarfraz can do it for them or not, the odds are very low, but I think they'll float Sarfraz.
Do you think it's a case in point of maybe the coaching staff saying, well, listen, you did nothing for us through the season. We're not going to give you another run. Do you think it could be that case in point?
Look, there can be no other reason. I think they just looked at it and said, I think what they would have been disturbed about with Pooran is his judgment, because he's not got out to Jafas and all. He's almost half the times, or more than half the times, he's got out trying to loft the ball out of the field. He's not chosen the right delivery to hit. He's hit straight to a fielder. So what they'll be saying is, look, if you got out and you looked as if you don't, but did it take you 13 matches to realize that you need to choose the ball you need to hit? And I think that's what they're questioning rather than his ability right now.
Well, I can tell you it took Puran about 7 matches in the CPL to realize that he should be batting higher up the order than he was. He was coming, I think, down 5 or 6, and often when he not getting enough deliveries and not being the impact player that he was, and the franchise didn't quite deliver the way they normally did. But yeah, sometimes you can realize things too late. From the Chennai point of view, before we wrap up here very quickly, Shaun, they've had a few losses back to back. Now, that's not the way you want to get into the playoffs. It doesn't matter if you've guaranteed a spot. They've kept with the core of the side, no changes today, yet they have had these losses coming into a crucial first playoff game.
Yeah, that would definitely be a concern, those results. And on the back of, as I say, I think it's their bowling that's let them, their batting that's let them down. And you don't want these negative vibes. You want everything to be as positive as it can possibly be. There's a couple of individuals who haven't been able to perform in the middle order as well. It's not the kind of situation you want to find yourself heading into the big part of the tournament, the knockout phase, where it all pretty much counts. But in saying that, even if they lose the next game after this, they've got that opportunity to play again. But yeah, you would think if you had to sum up the season, they would love when they were finished after 7 games, they would have loved the knockouts to have come then, because they were stringing things together. Everyone seemed on good touch, and they're playing some really good cricket.
Yeah, I think the real quandary starts, Joy, at number 3, that number 3 spot. We had the number 4. That was a magical discussion for 6 months for Team India before that 2019 World Cup. I think Chennai, number 3, if they can sort that out, because Moeen hasn't worked for them. Raina was tried one game. Now Uthappa's replaced Raina. There's no one who's picking that spot and scoring runs. And that, if they can sort out come first playoff game, they'll be that champion side we know them to be.
They actually have, they have 3. They have, literally 3, 4, and 5. That's basically where Moeen is playing, where Raina / Uthappa and Dhoni. And, Dhoni, of course, depending on where you play him, he might come in at 6. He should normally come in after somebody like Raidu and Jadeja. So maybe 3, 4, and 7 are where they're looking really vulnerable. And look, I think they can hide Dhoni because they have enough batting to hide Dhoni if the rest of them do it. But they need Moeen, and whether it's Raina or Uthappa, whoever they play, they need those two to give them something. And they need Ambati Rai to just get back into... He's still in form, but he's not in that magnificent form that he was, before.
Well, this time around, once again, we have not got the number right in 20 overs for Chennai, and it should be a cracking attempt at a prediction because Punjab can only possibly go one way. So the only reason to lowball here would be to assume that they'll go hard and lose plenty of wickets. But I'm still going to throw a big number on the table for you gentlemen to work with. 66 for me in the power play for Punjab. Shaun?
66. I'll go 55.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to go 47.
47, 55, 66. If I'm even close to right, I'll win a lot more friends up north, but it'll mean that they're still in with a shout of trying to finish the game, possibly within that 10 over mark. Maybe they need to go even harder than that. All makes for an exciting next 10 overs, after which we'll join you on Cricbuzz Combox. And of course, we keep reminding you that if you're part of this entire family and you're one of those who ask for more, get on and subscribe to Cricbuzz Plus. There's lots there for every cricket fan to savor. Well, sit back and savor these next few overs. We'll assess it for you in the 10 over mark, and we'll see you soon at the mid-innings break between 2 matches on Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.